Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the sixth webinar in our series of dialogues on poverty environment action for sustainable development goals, the successor of the joint UNDP-UNEP Poverty Environment Initiative, offering nearly 2 decades of experiential learning and evolution of approaches in tackling the duality of poverty and environment in primarily least developed countries. My name is Michael Stanley Jones, and I serve as a program management officer in the Ecosystems Integration Branch of the United Nations Environment Program based in Nairobi. I shall be your moderator today from California, USA, for the webinar on Poverty Environment Action Helpdesk, Mainstreaming Poverty Environment Linkages. Before turning to our distinguished speakers, let me address some housekeeping matters. First, all microphones and videos need to remain turned off except for active speakers. Your microphone and video will turn on when you request the floor. The session is being recorded live for future reference. We will invite you later in the webinar to participate in a poll where you can respond to the poll directly in this platform. Find us at PEA for SDGs webinars on Twitter. We are also streaming from Facebook and LinkedIn. As with every webinar of this series, the recording will be made available through the Poverty Environment Action website, PEA for SDGs.org. Don't worry, we'll go and show you that site a little bit later this morning, afternoon, or evening. After opening remarks by Dr. Linshu Zhang, the director of the UNEP International Ecosystem Management Partnership, a partnership between UNEP and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Jacinta Okwaro, Technical Assistant Specialist in Africa Regional Support with the Africa Regional Office, UNDP, in Nairobi, and Henry Dada, Senior Advisor, Strategic Planning, Ecosystems Integration Branch, Ecosystems Division of UNEP, also based in Nairobi, will join me to introduce the Poverty Environment Action Helpdesk. Let me turn first then to Linshu and invite her to provide us with opening remarks. Linshu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael. And dear participants, greetings from Beijing. So as Michael said, since 2018, the Poverty Environment Action for Sustainable Development Goals project has been trialing the approach of mainstreaming environmental sustainability and climate objectives of the poverty eradication into development planning, budgeting, and monitoring systems. Public and private finance and investment in 8 full-fledged countries and 5 technical assistance projects. Poverty Environment Action builds on the deep experiences of the predecessor project, as Michael said, Poverty Environment Initiative. So over the past decade, PEI has pioneered integrated approaches to mainstreaming poverty environment linkages in national development planning and implementation processes in more than 20 countries in support of national efforts to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. So this project can now be seen as a pioneer model and the practical example of how to implement sustainable development in a way that contributes to the umbrella objective of Agenda 2030, which is the eradication of poverty in all its forms and dimensions. In this sense, it responds very well to the new framework put in place by the United Nations reform since 2019, called the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. And this framework aims at improving the United Nations' ability to support countries in delivering on Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals at the national level through an integrated socio-economic environmental approach. The UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework also relies heavily on an improved development coordination at national level, particularly through an empowered resident coordinator system. In each country, the resident coordinator now has enhanced the power to lead the UN country team to design more coordinated programs aligned with national priorities and deliver coherently on the nationally aspired for SDGs. So we are pleased to see some representatives of resident coordinators' offices with us here today. So welcome, as we hope this would be able to further support the work of the resident of coordinating offices. And also over the years, our pioneer project, UNDP, UNEP Poverty-Environment Action, received repeatedly requests for support on mainstreaming poverty environment. This request came from an additional 20 countries to those already involved in our project. We are therefore responding to this demand by creating this help desk service that will be open to all member states to jointly provide ongoing technical advisory and information on poverty environment mainstreaming. So the help desk supports the delivery of virtual technical advisory and knowledge management services, strengthening access remotely to the experiences and lessons of poverty environment mainstreaming gained over the 17-year life of PEI and the Poverty Environment Action now. It is part of the Poverty Environment Action's virtual capacity building platform, and it will support the legacy of these pioneer projects. So in the end, I wish today's webinar will be a valuable asset for all the participants who can take it away. Michael, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
I muted during your introduction. Thank you for those remarks. As we've heard, the help desk is providing services both to Poverty Environment Action countries and also other countries that are interested in mainstreaming poverty environment linkages into policy, planning, budgeting, and investment. And indeed, it's not only the 8 countries of the Poverty Environment Action Project or the additional countries receiving technical assistance from Poverty Environment Action, but also the countries that participated in Poverty Environment Initiative. There were 29 countries by one count over its period of life, and other countries that wish to know more and implement mainstreaming of poverty environment and climate linkages. Building on Poverty Environment Action's experience of working with government officials and stakeholders, the help desk will provide services in 4 main areas: technical advisory services, knowledge management, resource mobilization, and partnerships. To learn more about these services, let us turn to Jacinta and Henry. Jacinta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Michael, for that introduction, and thank you, Lingshu, for those remarks. I hope you can see my screen. Thank you to our participants for taking time to participate in this help desk webinar. I'll start with the introduction of the help desk. The purpose of the help desk was to have one-stop point for the contacts of Poverty Environment Action that provides stakeholders with a centralized information service on mainstreaming poverty environment objectives in policies, budgets, processes, investments in support of the SDGs. The help desk was activated on 9th February in response to requests from the Poverty Environment Action Project Board, as well as other partners who are looking for information on poverty environment mainstreaming. So it will further provide support on the framework for the contribution of the UNDP and UNEP's joint work on poverty environment and climate mainstreaming, after the conclusion of the Poverty Environment Action Project in December 2022. So the purpose of the help desk is to provide a platform for sustainability of the work that Poverty Environment Initiative and the Poverty Environment Action that have been going on for the past 10 years. I'll discuss next the services of the help desk. And to start with is the technical advisory. So the purpose of the help desk is to have readily available resources on the technical issues that we've been working on poverty environment mainstreaming, to provide to partners and stakeholders upon requests on the website. So the Poverty Environment Action Help Desk will be providing technical advisory through two folds. The first one will be using the format that we've been working on to provide support to country level. And this includes the development of knowledge tools on poverty environment, climate change, and gender mainstreaming. A lot of work has been done at country level on development of such kinds of tools. And then on those tools, we've been working with ministries of finances on testing the tools and mainstreaming the poverty environment into government planning and budgetary processes. And through the work with the ministries, we have successfully worked with the different governments in development of plans, policies, strategies, including poverty environment and climate mainstreaming and gender objectives. And then through that work, we've also seen the implementation of the same policies and strategies and budgets in different countries, and even beyond the implementation at national level, we've even seen the implementation also at district level. And then beyond that, we've also been monitoring and reporting and identifying the key lessons learned through the implementation process, identifying the challenges and the new opportunities. And then out of the lessons that we've learned, we've actually been sharing with different stakeholders, including our partners, UNCTs, donors, and other stakeholders interested in our work. So through this work that we've been supporting at country level, we have immense experiences and tools and knowledge that will be available to be provided through the help desk. Beyond the countries, we also have the technical assistance components, and the purpose of the technical assistance component is to provide poverty environment mainstreaming beyond the countries that we are working in. So we are providing additional support to countries, regions, sub-regions that do not have the fully fledged country pair projects. The aim of the technical assistance component is to catalyze poverty environment and broaden the use of poverty environment mainstreaming tools and approaches through wider UNEP, UNDP, and partners projects that contribute to the overall outcome of the project. The technical assistance comes in form of expertise and knowledge of the Poverty Environment Action team, backed with financial resources. And the Poverty Environment Action thus has rich knowledge gained through the experiences of both poverty and mainstreaming in country level, but also beyond the country levels through the technical assistance. So far, we have 6 technical assistance projects in Tanzania, focusing on mainstreaming poverty, environment, and gender objectives into local environment developments and SDGs. We have a project in Indonesia focusing on development finance facility. Indonesia have really done very well on the work of green bonds and the green sukuk. We also have a blue economy technical assistance projects, and we've developed tools on the blue economy, specifically in the private investments in the blue economy. And then we also have technical assistance on the green bonds, supporting South Africa and also linking the work in South Africa to Indonesia and even beyond that. We also have a gender technical assistance in partnership with UN Women, focusing on climate smart agriculture. And then we also have a broader technical assistance project on developing a virtual platform that we can use in the post-COVID environment. So the combination of country and tier expertise has built rich knowledge in specific topics. These topics include mainstreaming poverty environment objectives into national monitoring processes, understanding the political economy of the mainstreaming process, mainstreaming into national plans, budgets, and processes. We also go beyond that to mainstream at subnational level and also at sectoral level. We also have a lot of experience in mainstreaming into new topics as I've indicated in the technical assistance. This includes mainstreaming poverty, environment, and gender objectives into the blue economy sector and also into the green bonds and the broader green financing sector. We also have good experience in mainstreaming of gender objectives. We have good experience and tools on gender mainstreaming. And we also have experience in working with the private sector and private finance investments. So all this work combine work between the countries and technical expertise will be available through the help desk. The second mode of service that we'll be providing is the knowledge management. Poverty-Environment Action has a strong knowledge management system, and the purpose of the knowledge management is to enable our stakeholders beyond the pair countries and the technical assistance projects to access the rich knowledge that the project has been developing. The focus will be also, in addition to what we've done, the focus will be also on new research and knowledge production in the field that will be harvested and entered into the poverty environment knowledge repository. The type of knowledge that PAIR develops includes the tools and instruments. Tools and instruments include guidelines, manual, training, research, reviews, and support that can be provided at country and technical assistance level and also global level. The other knowledge that we develop is actually advisory support. As I've indicated how we work at country level, we provide technical advisory support through our ministries, through the ministries of finance. And then we also have publications. This includes project reports, and beyond the tools that have been developed, we also have lessons learned report and additional publications that can be supportive to the project. Beyond the publication and tools, we also have photos and video galleries and also recordings of such webinars that we are producing. How does Poverty Environment Action share the knowledge? We share knowledge and information through internal working groups like the results-based management communication, which is internal. But beyond the internal PAIR webinars, we also have the PAIR webinar series. This is in country and also beyond the countries at regional level, but also at global level. We also have launches of the publication that is also in country at regional level and also global level. And we also have different communities of practice that are divided in specific topics. We have a communities of practice, for example, on private and public finance sectors. And we also have communities of practice, for example, in the field of gender mainstreaming. So this is just an example of the knowledge management, which includes a series of webinars that we've been conducting since November. We've conducted so far 5 webinars, this including the 6th webinar. And the topics, as you can see, are what I have just been explaining on the expertise of poverty environment action. We have topics ranging from eliminating poverty and enhancing sustainability. We have green financing in both private and public investments. We have topics like mainstreaming poverty into the blue economy and also the green economy, including the green bonds. And we also have interesting topics that are coming up in post-COVID world, which includes the financial crisis and the poverty, environment, sustainability beyond COVID-19. So these are some of the webinars and the knowledge sharing experiences that we have had, and we will continue beyond the project period. And through the help desk, we have all this knowledge that will be available to partners to share. So my colleague Henry will discuss resource mobilization, but before that, let me just take you through the standard operating procedures of the help desk. So we have the contacts of the help desk, which is on the website, and my colleague Michael is going to discuss that. And through those contacts, partners will be able to send inquiries to the help desk, which will be queued and tracked into the help desk system. And then once we have the inquiry made, an acknowledgement will be sent of the inquiry to the partner who has sent the inquiry within 3 days. And once the acknowledgement has been sent, the help desk focal point will go into looking at the response to the request for the information with reasonable time. This will depend on the type of request that has been provided by the inquirer. If it's a document, a tool, or a training manual that is readily available, that will be shared immediately. If the request is more detailed, for example, if there is requirement for training or supporting a process at country or regional level, then we'll go into the next step, which is step 4. This will include following up discussions with the partner who has made the inquiry, and we'll have this discussion between the partner and the peer technical advisors or the specific people with the expertise of the specific knowledge. And we can discuss on how this support can be provided, what are the available resources, and to what level does the partner needs this type of support. And beyond these standard operating procedures, we also have a list of poverty environment mainstreaming consultants, expertise, and partners and communities of practice that will also be sharing with partners upon request for this type of information. Additional component of the help desk is to strengthen partnerships beyond the UNEP and UNDP partnership that has already been created. We have global strategic partnership direction and support. This includes the sustainable development teams of the bureaus for policy and programmatic support. We have the ecosystems integration branch that is within also the UNEP ecosystems division. And we have the UNDP regional hubs, the UNEP regional offices in Africa and Asia Pacific. And then we also have the different units within UNEP, that is also the law and the science division. Beyond UNEP and UNDP, we have other bilateral and multilateral development partnerships that we are developing. This includes the partnership with the Asian Development Bank. This is a very important partnership for us because we are working together in the area of blue economy. We also have the International Institute for Environment and Development, which is also supporting in the development of the key tools for poverty environment mainstreaming. We have other partnerships like UN Women, as I've indicated, and beyond these partnerships, we have also other partnerships like GIZ that are working on the issues of green bonds and green financing. We also have leadership and country level knowledge from programming within the UNDP country offices. As I've indicated, Poverty Environment Action works through the UNDP country offices who support our work with the technical support to the ministries of finances. We have the I've indicated the ecosystems division and the economics division. And also beyond our partners, we have the GIZ have indicated that, and we also in partnership with the Green Economy Coalition for Partnership Inclusive Green Economy, and also the United Nations Research Institute for Social Development. Beyond this part, these are just some of the examples of the partnerships that we've created, and we're open to continuing these partnerships. And thanks to our donors who are really supporting this work, including the government of Austria, Belgium, Norway, Sweden, and the European Union. One of the work that we've also done in partnership with our donors is co-hosting a webinar on green financing in the public sector, which also took place last week, and the recording is also available.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, and thank you everyone for your patience about this. Jacinta, thank you for stepping in. I would really like to start first of all by saying that whenever you want to develop projects properly, you need to have a resource mobilization. And the issue is, why do you mobilize resources? The resources you mobilize should be able to actually, so it's a matter of why do you mobilize resources? I mean, what support is required and who are the potential donors or funders in all this? So it is very, very important that when you are doing resource mobilization, you must have clear objectives of resource mobilization strategy. You must also ensure that funding is available to support value addition to successful interventions. In our case, especially in Poverty-Environment Action, we, on the technical assistance, mobilize resources for gender mainstreaming, climate smart agriculture, blue-green bonds, in terms of technical assistance, mainstreaming poverty, environment, climate dimensions, and also budget tagging at local levels. And those ones have been referred to as some of the interventions we've had in Africa and Asia Pacific. In terms of the rationale is, we must respond to demands on needs assessment, like there must be a participatory approach with stakeholders to have a hierarchy of the needs that they want or they have, harness available human resources, because this is mostly ignored, but we must know what do you have as a baseline and what do you need to develop, determine financial resources gap, what do you have in terms of cash, in terms of capital, and capital could be sometimes space, it could be human resources, it could be different aspects of resources. And the knowledge gap, what information do you have and how can you bridge this gap through partnerships so that you can create impactful changes? And we must plan well, you must budget accurately when you're doing resource mobilization, and it has to be a participatory process and using experts. So it is important that when you are seeking support, the support that is required could be both in kind and in cash contribution. You might have situations where you want to seek underwriting for loan security, but ideally the funding ratio should be like 40-60. If you can secure 40% local funding and 60% external, that is a very good balance for you. And that support could come from local governments, especially now that you're working the green bonds in South Africa. You find the municipalities that you're working down there with have got to lay down what participation on what support they're going to provide. And if you're dealing with the national governments like we're doing in Indonesia, the sukuks that Jacinta referred to, what kind of level of support can they provide? It could be in kind, could be in cash, and again, it's a matter of resource mobilization. Co-financing is very important. Our common co-financiers are like the Global Environment Facility and also now the Climate Fund that we are having there. But it's very, very important that when you're doing resource mobilization and seeking support, you must achieve a threshold of the SMART objectives. And the SMART objectives for people who are familiar with project development, your projects must be specific, they must be measurable, they must be achievable, they must be relevant, and they must be time bound. And those are the acronyms that we're using as SMART objectives. So who are the potential donors? There is a whole rundown of who the potential donors could be. Multilateral, bilateral, United Nations, that's one line of donors or funders. It depends on how you want to use the term. Sometimes people prefer the reference to development partners instead of donors and funders. Regional banks, Asia Development Bank has been referred to, especially for the blue economy in Asia Pacific. Investment banks, the European Union is coming very strong, and I think Kenya is going to be one of the local hubs for investment bank, especially European Investment Bank. Private sector participation, the philanthropy, you've heard of the MasterCards, you've heard of different foundations and trusts, and even high net worth individuals who would like to contribute, the angel investors and all that. So there are also equity funders, the venture capitalists. So those are the potential sources of funding. And also sometimes you can go to the money markets the way we have gone in Indonesia. We are also trying to go in South Africa through the green bonds and securities. So those are some of the areas. Why mobilize resources, what support is required, and who are the potential funders. May I go to the next slide, please, Jacinta? So the next slide, yes. So how do you engage? You must collaborate, you must cooperate, you must have partnerships. Those are the things you're talking about. You must have good communication. You must have a common vision between the person supporting you and the support that you have, common vision and objective. So that has to be very, very good synergy. It's important to look at a multi-year approach. A one-year project may be too short, but 3 to 5 years is a very good multi-year project. You might also look for the multi-donor synergies, like in the poverty environment, we have several donors, EU, and you find Austria, Belgium, Sweden, Norway. So those are the multi-donor synergies, and they come together, and that's why we even have a project board so that they play an advisory role. Must have binding agreements. The MOUs for the UN, we have SSFA, small-scale funding agreements, and also the letters of agreement. More or less spells out what your budget outlay is, and you really need to stick to that. So it's important to also have clear resource mobilization targets. You may not get all the money in a 5-year project in the first year. You might want to say every year, this is my resource mobilization target. Is very, very critical. And other sources of funding or other sources of resources would be the sustainable financial tools, like the ESG bonds, the environmental, ESG bonds, you know about them, on environment, social, and governance issues. Achieve high credit rating. It is very, very important. I was talking about Standard & Poor's. And then if you are at a subnational level, for those people who are on this platform who are at the county level or municipal level, if your county is got high credit rating, it means that you can borrow because you can service your debts. So it can be the AAA, maybe BBB, whichever way, but that rating gives that level of confidence that you can borrow and pay back. Increasingly in this space of the digital transformation, we are having the fintechs. In Kenya, we have M-Pesa, you know about PayPal. I think in China, we have other systems. Infrastructure bonds are very key, and it is important that in the resource mobilization platform, when you call us, we'll be able to share from time to time the calls for proposal announcement so that you can seek to do that. Now, there are things that you should never do. Do not under-mobilize resources. If you have a particular budget, mobilize according to the budget, because if you under-mobilize resources, you'll not have the complete, the complete package to achieve that. Do not over-mobilize. You might have too much money, which becomes a problem. Do not understaff, do not overstaff. And of course, do not raise an unmanageable expectation, because sometimes we become very excited and you can raise expectation, especially when you're dealing with the community and you realize those expectations cannot be achieved. And also do not promise against resources which you are yet to receive, because you might just reach an embarrassing situation where, that has, the resources have not come in, the expectations are high, and then you are in a difficult situation with your stakeholders. So this is the resource mobilization strategy, which I would really like to share. I think that is the last slide on this, and back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Henry. I'm sure our participants will have some questions and engage in a dialogue with you and Jacinta in a moment. But before we get to our polling segment, I had promised earlier to share the place on the website where people can find some of the information that we've just introduced. So let me share my screen first. And here we can see, there we are. We can see the webpage of Poverty Environment Action, that is PEA4SDGs.org. Under the About Us drop-down menu, there is the help desk, and the help desk focal point contacts for each of the 4 areas we've introduced today: knowledge management, partnerships, resource mobilization, and technical assistance. Jacinta had introduced also our knowledge chapter. Some of our guidance documents, the most important ones, are found in the publications gallery. There's an example of Poverty Environment Action publications. Prior to that, we also had the Poverty Environment Initiative publications. There's more than 60 different publications here, including on lessons learned, on our project experience, and our methodologies. So that's certainly a useful resource. And our newest addition to our knowledge management package are our thematic galleries. The themes of economic valuation analysis, gender and social inclusion, integrated ecosystems assessments, and public expenditure reviews. This gallery is being populated now. These 4 are complete, but we will be adding shortly other thematic galleries. And this is a way of clustering the different guidance documents, briefings, reports, and generally the knowledge products that people might find interesting, so they can deep dive directly. The publications gallery I showed a moment ago is chronological, so it's by date of publication or month of publication. But a quick helpmate to find the information you need is to go to the thematic gallery. So with that, let me conclude this brief introduction to the website and invite Henry to lead us through an interactive exercise to find out what you're thinking about what we've just introduced you to. It's now, participants, your turn to tell us what you think. Henry, please conduct a quick poll and explain how people can respond to the demands for the help desk.
Thank you very much about that. Now, participants, we are going to have 3 questions or 3 polls. One will be on knowledge management, another one will be on partnership, and a third one will be on resource mobilization. On the knowledge management, if you could project that one on the screen, is more or less which kind of knowledge are you mostly looking for with our help desk? So this is something that you really need to think seriously. Please rank the highest 3. There is publication on specific themes. There is the case studies and lessons learned, training modules, and webinars. So let's spend 1 minute on this, on the knowledge management. Just score, tick, and then in the back end, we'll be able to score and we'll have the results projected so that we can look at the popularity of what you are mostly looking for.
I'll just add that the panelists are not invited to join us. We want to hear from the participants. So please tick over your 3 top responses from this brief list. I might add that we had more than 60 registrants for this webinar.
Yes.
So we hope we'll have a robust participation from the audience.
Good. So the count of 3, 3, 2, 1. Good. So these are the results that we have. The 3 of the highest, please rank the highest 3. You can see publication and specific themes. Okay, case studies is 76% score. Publication on specific themes is 56%, which is tying with the lessons learned, and then followed by training modules and followed by webinars. So looks like anything above 50% is significantly important, but case studies are actually what you're mostly looking for. Now, Poverty Environment project will provide a lot of case studies on the website that Michael has just shared with us. We have good stories from the different countries that we've been working in. Through the help desk, we can also link you up to other facilities. We're going to develop a platform a virtual platform where we provide training facilities, and there'll be tools that will actually be available on that particular platform. Now, the second question is on partnership. Which of the following responses best describe why your organization would consider partnering with Poverty Environment Action? Which of the following responses? Please rank the top three, first, second, and third, more or less just like the first question on knowledge management. So those are 6 elements you have there. The first element is partnering is an effective way to learn how to apply Poverty Environment Actions tools and methodologies in our work. If that's your priority, tick it as the first one. Or if it is number 3, according to you, put it number 3. So delivering as one UN through partnership is a priority of the reform of the UN system, which our organization supports. Again, rank it. Poverty Environment Action partnerships are more likely to attract donor funding. Again, rank it. Combining our organization's efforts through partnerships strengthens delivery on implementation of the 2030 Agenda for member states. Rank it. Joining Poverty Environment Action partnership increases public awareness of my organization's work. That means you're now looking inwards on poverty and environmental sustainability. So out of those 5, you can rank them, but there is the other, just in case. The 5 do not specifically describe your organization's position, just add the other. That would be an outlier that would really be useful for our activities. So
I wonder, Henry, can people actually rank, or should they just tick? I'm not sure the system allows for. Okay,
just tick, but
yeah.
To have number first, second, and third for an individual let's see what you come up with. All right, could we post the results so far at this point? Great. So you can see, so other has scored very low, 5%, as the results are streaming in. We have, okay, let me put it this way. The highest is combining our organization's efforts through partnership strengthens delivery on implementation of the 2030 Agenda for member states. That's 71%. That's the highest, followed by partnering is an effective way to learn how to apply Poverty Environment Action tools and methodologies in our work. That is very interesting results on this. It's very indicative for us because when we are writing our report and designing our virtual platform, we know exactly where we lie in this particular platform. Now, what I'm not so sure is the other. I would request you to use the chat and type what you mean by the other so that we'll be able to pick it and use it for our purposes. So please, I request you to use the chat and type what you mean by the other so that we'll be able to have a collection of the other thoughts on this particular subject of partnership. Well, the third question is on resource mobilization. Based on your personal knowledge or experience, please select 3 top donor types or categories that finance activities in your country or region. Based on your personal knowledge or experience, please select 3 top donor types or categories that finance activities in your country or region. There are 8 electives there, but please select 3 top. So the United Nations agencies, bilateral and multilateral partners, governments, private sector, regional banks, emerging economies, domestic financial markets, and fintechs. Select 3 top donor types or categories that finance your activity. Donor could as well be development partners. It depends on the semantics that you want to use. Based on your personal knowledge or experience, please select 3 top donor types or categories that finance activities in your country or region. 10 seconds. Out of the 8, 3. Thank you. Could we have the results posted? We see the popularity of this cause. There's 0. There's no emerging economies. Is not featuring anywhere in your country or region. That's really good. Fintech, 6%. Let me just play around here. The highest here is philanthropy, trusts and foundations, high net worth individuals. That's the most common. That's interesting. Governments and multilateral agencies are tying at 61%. That's very interesting and indicative. I think we should share this one actually with our donors, Michael, and also with our governments, the local governments. I don't know whether we have any local government representative could be on this particular, but this is very, very useful.
Thank you, Henry, for taking us through this poll, and it is information that we'll try to use. I also want to mention, in response to a question through the chat room, the chat box, that we will be making this recording and these poll results available through the Poverty-Environment Action website. You saw in the menu that I showed, there is a webinar link there, and it'll also appear on other social media platforms. So we'll need a few hours or a day to put the notes together and also to make the recording available. So thank you, Henry, again. That was great to have participation. Thanks to all participants in the poll. Now, the help desk is part of a larger ambition of Poverty Environment Action, one that we previewed last June in our partnership meeting, Poverty Environment Action's virtual capacity building platform, which Jacinta mentioned a moment ago. Let me invite Jacinta to further introduce the platform. We are pressed for time, so Jacinta, we want to reserve some time for questions and answers. So if you can quickly take us through the core elements of the virtual platform.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. I'll be very quick on this. So the help desk is part of a bigger vision that the Poverty Environment Action has. And the vision is actually to develop the Poverty Environment Capacity Building Platform that does respond to the COVID-19 post-COVID-19 environment, but also to actually look into the sustainability of the Poverty Environment Action Project beyond the closure of the project in 2022. So the online platform will contain training, knowledge and reciprocity. This includes training modules in partnership with the UNITAR, and we'll also have webinars on the priority topics, but also other knowledge information that we have already included. As part of the virtual platform, we'll also have the help desk that I've actually described, and through the help desk and the online training, we'll also have the South-South cooperation and dialogue between donors and partners and other stakeholders and other networks that are working on the same topic. So the help desk is not a standalone initiative within the Poverty Environment Action. It's actually part of a bigger vision that we are working on, which is the virtual capacity building platform. Thank you. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Jacinta, and thank you for the brevity. I wanted to use our remaining time to invite our guests, the participants in this webinar. If they have questions they'd like to direct to us, please raise your hand. You do that using the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen, like so. and then you will be called upon. Have we questions for our speakers today?
There is Sheila. I think there is Sheila who has raised her hand up.
Yes, hello, hello. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to hear about the wonderful work you're doing and also to ask my question. So I am a coordinator for a network of African women environmentalists, which is hosted by UNEP and partnered by many other UN agencies. We're a network of networks, and also work with a youth empowerment group called Africa's Forgotten Bottom Millions. Now, the question I have is really how these wonderful resources, which you have gathered over nearly 2 decades, and are putting and are giving people access to, but how will you actually make the connection? Meaning, how do you really stimulate an appetite to interact with your help desk or with your platform? And then also, how do you ensure that that interaction comes from those that need it most? And those that need it most are perhaps not those that normally go on websites and write requests in chat and wait for a few days for responses. They are the ones really at the poverty environment nexus, mostly women and young people. So is there any mechanism that you have to basically draw these communities towards your resources, but also create a framework to measure how they're using them and perhaps what impact those valuable resources are to them and their lives? They could be catalytic and transformative. And sometimes it's the need is not just say women who are not educated or whatever. Sometimes it's, we also work with government advisors. So strategic advisors who are like the middle tier that advise, say, the Minister of Environment. How do you get them to really, for the information to be really contextualized and for you to mediate between your platform and real people on the ground? So thank you very much for giving me this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Let me first give a brief response. And I think we need to recognize that the virtual quality of some of the services are limiting and will not reach those who are not well connected. I mean, who do not enjoy internet connectivity. And that includes groups that represent women and groups that represent the poor in many of the countries we work in. It had been our practice to work in country through workshops directly with the communities that we seek to serve and mobilize. For example, in Rwanda, we worked with women's collectivities, women's organizations that were directly participating in trainings we did on how to market their goods and products in a sustainable manner. This is part of an initiative to cut down on the use of single-use plastics. That was a priority of the Rwandan government. In Peru, when we had a program in Peru, we worked directly with scavenger communities and organized them into legal associations so they could get training on how to recycle material and secure also their livelihoods. In Uruguay, we did a similar project as well. So there is experience in working directly with groups, but we have, under the conditions that prevail today, not been able to travel and not been able to organize face-to-face meetings in many of the countries where we traditionally have. We hope we will get back to that. We hope that we will have that kind of direct engagement, and workshops will again be part of our delivery platform. In the meantime, we're working with UNITAR through one of the partnerships that's a new partnership to develop a massive open online course that would be self-paced and that individuals and groups could join and work through the materials in a way that would be engaging and hopefully not only informative, but even entertaining. And we plan in June to begin the rollout of that MOOC, or massive open online course. So, you know, this is what we can do now, but we certainly agree working directly with communities is something that through our partnerships we would hope to again do in the future. Does anyone else want to take a quick?
Michael, there's a hand up.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi. I think this
Hello.
is this is really exciting, working towards this virtual capacity building platform. And Sheila asked some great questions, one of which was actually my question. So I'm now going to ask this. How far do you think this is building a community of practice? Because help desk is a little bit sort of one way, training is a bit one way, even webinars are sort of from you outwards. What's the vision in terms of building a community around these issues? There's an eternal need for those on working on poverty and those on working on environment to come together. Are you moving towards a community of practice, or is it continuing to be just delivery of services? Thanks. Very exciting.
Thanks, Michael. Can I take that?
Yes, please.
Yes, thanks, Steve, so much for the question. Yes, we are moving towards developing communities of practice, because right now we are focusing on closing up the project in 2022. So we are moving towards development of community of practice, not just globally, but also at country level. Remember, Poverty-Environment Action has been working at country level through our UNDP country offices, and also through governments at national level, but at also district level. So these partnerships have been built at national level, at district level, and also at community level. For example, in Malawi, we work with UN Women who have different women groups and farm organizations at district level that we have worked with FAO to provide capacity building in specific areas of climate smart agriculture. So we hope that we'll continue working with those networks from community level to district level to also national level. And we hope that those networks that we have built are going to continue linking this knowledge and information to the communities and to the districts and to the nations and also to the global level that will need this type of information. So that's why we want to continue this network by linking the ones that are able to access the help desk to be able to have these services. But we are hoping that once they have these services and the knowledge that is being shared, they can actually disseminate it to the ones that actually need it at a local level, and to continue the partnerships with UNDPs at country level. Thank you. Over.
Yep, thank you, Jacinta. And I just add that in 2022, in the work plan for Poverty-Environment Action, we expect to be working more on the communities of practice platform. And we are in discussion with Green Growth Knowledge Partnership, which has recently launched the Green Forum. And we're looking to see if we can't build out those communities in a way that would be serviced beyond the life of the current project Poverty-Environment Action that is beyond 2022, using those partnerships and using those tools. So there's more work to be done. It's high on our agenda, and we hope that we can meet the promise of communities of practice. I can't see if there are other questions, but someone can, one of my colleagues. Are there other hands raised?
Yeah,
Steve, did you want? Yes, Henry.
Yeah, thank you very much for your response, Michael, and also Steve and Sheila for your questions, and also to Jacinta for responding. I recommend now that we have a help desk platform. I would propose that Sheila or any other participant on this forum, you could use that platform to drop us a line so that we can engage in this type of discussion. Please, that's what I wanted to say. Let us.
Thank you. And I do see Sheila has shared in the chat box her contacts, and we will be back in touch. We're now at the end of the hour, but Lin Shu, I'd like to invite you to come back to us and provide us with some concluding thoughts. Thank you, Sheila. I see another comment that you'll use the help desk That's what we're hoping we can stimulate, at least as a start. Lin Shu, please take the floor.
Thank you, Michael. And I don't know what I wanted to add because I'm mindful of the time. So we are overrunning for 3 minutes now from my clock. But well, first of all, I would like to thank my colleagues, you and Jacinta and Henry, for the introduction of this help desk, because I hope this could provide some information for participants who are joining us today and beyond to carry this message home. But what I wanted to say, the second point is that the polling results is really interesting, telling us the efforts, the direction of the efforts that we are going to be moving for. And then the question and answers, especially that the needs to reach out to the communities and to the grassroots level are something we are carrying home from this webinar. But of course, we should not forget to thank the donors who supported the series of events that until today, because without their support, nothing could be materializing. But as Jacinta and Henry talked about the resource mobilization, this is a continued effort that we're going to do, helping the member states and at national, subnational, community levels. But I think I wanted to conclude by finally, the last but never the least, all those who stayed up with us until now, the participants, the questions raised, and the expression of interest, of engagement with this help desk. I think that's very encouraging message. So with that, I wanted to return to you, Michael. So thank you all for this. And I myself also learned a lot through these exercises, although being part of this process. Michael?
Thank you very much. And thanks again to the participants for their engagement and for their inspirations and questions. We hope to hear from you and continue this dialogue. We will be shortly in the near future announcing the next series of Poverty Environment Action webinars for 2022. So stay tuned, stay engaged, and I wish you all a very good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening. Thank you.